And finally, we look at Harleen. And Harleen is living in a city called Martog. And Martog is a port city down with big docks. It's a sprawling city. It's a very vibrant place, and like most big cities, it's got a significant criminal sort of underbelly. And Harleen is a tall, slender human female with long blonde hair that she wears in pigtails and pale skin and green eyes. Um, she tends to be seen in a hooded cloak and has been out for most of the day investigating um, the reports of criminal activity down on the docks. And Harleen is pretty highly sought after by the guards at Martog because she understands the criminal element. She's entirely capable of defending herself, which allows the guard to not have to waste any resources protecting her, but more importantly, she seems to have an uncanny knack for understanding how the criminals think, where they'll be hiding, how they behave, and as such, she has a very high success rate in finding and identifying criminal activity, repatriating stolen goods, and as such is unofficially in the employ of the town guards in Martog. Um, Harleen makes a nice income in this way and lives in a very nice part of the city entirely alone and independently. She prefers to operate on her own, not desperately. Um, she finds the guards themselves tend to draw too much attention, and it's much more efficient sort of finding things out um, uh, by herself. And so on this evening, after a very successful um, uh, expedition around the docks and uncovering some smuggling operations that have been going on there. She decides to walk home as she usually does through the town. And from the very moment of walking into the street where she lives, Harleen's house is down the far end of this particular street. Things feel wrong. I mean, Harleen has a sixth sense for danger and um, discomfort, and this particular part of town is very nice. It's expensive. The properties are all beautifully maintained. Um, uh, uh, it's very rich and affluent, and there's very little criminal activity up here. But with the sixth sense of somebody who spends a significant amount of their time dealing with criminals and criminal elements, Harleen knows that there's something really fundamentally wrong this evening. The, the, the lights are unnaturally dark. Normally this is a very well lit area, but some of the street lights appear to be out. And so she starts making her way very carefully towards her house at the far end of town. And as she walks down a common bandit. Harleen looks at them almost with disdain, jumps out from an alleyway and comes at her almost immediately with a knife held, and Harleen's pretty well equipped, and from underneath her cloak draws a huge warhammer that she wears on her back, and she hits this chap. She gives him absolutely short shrift, based on the fact that he's just come out of an alley brandishing a knife, and she swipes at him with her hammer, and very quickly just leaves him bloodied and pulped on the ground. And she continues to make her way nervously, very warily down this road. This is very unnatural and very abnormal for this area of town. And as she's walking, she looks carefully down the alleyways on either side. She can see nobody there. She's looking down, and as she walks along again, she sees another bandit, commoner, not somebody that she would associate as being part of the sort of criminal network. This is somebody who's much too poor and ragged. This isn't an organised criminal in any way, shape or form, but again runs at her with absolute burning hatred in his eyes, sort of frenzied malevolence, which is, unusual. And Harleen takes a step back and swings her hammer once around her head and then up through this criminal's jaw, and sends him ricocheting backwards back into the alleyway, where he's slumped unconscious on the ground. And so she makes her way cautiously through the town, and as she looks back, she sees the first commoner sort of dragging his bloodied form back down the alleyway, clutching what appears to be a broken arm to his chest as he drags himself off. And Harleen continues to walk until she reaches her house, where she quickly lets herself in. And Harleen's house is beautiful. It's wooden, oak panelling and inlaid floors. It's a large property, considering that she lives here on her own, but it's comfortable and homely. She locks the door behind her, which is not something she would normally be inclined to do, and makes her way up into the house. And she makes her way through the living area and down into the kitchen, where she prepares herself a large glass of wine, and starts to reflect on what's just happened and how particularly unusual that is. And Harleen's been in this business a long game. She's spent most of today dealing with, pretty nasty criminals, and to be chased by two common thieves on the way home is somewhat disconcerting. And she takes her wine and makes her way across the seated area where she'll relax over into her study on the far side of her house. This is Harleen's den. It's where she feels most at home, studying and understanding the elements that she's dealing with. And she goes to have a look and see if any of this could make any possible sense. And as she walks in to her study, she's perplexed to feel that she is not alone. And as she sits there, a woman in a top hat and tailcoat seems to appear from nothing, almost with a puff of smoke, but rather than a puff of smoke, it small curls across the carpet and across the rug like mist. And she raises her hat and inclines her head towards Harleen. And Harleen looks at her and, how the fuck did you get in my house? And the woman smiles and goes, doors are nothing, windows are nothing, barriers are nothing, and I have a proposition for you that I think will be of interest. There's a guy. He's a total jerk. I need him gone. And Harleen looks at her and sips her wine, goes, why me? Why could you not make an appointment like everyone else? And the woman laughs and goes, well, it's not as simple as a quick blow to the head. If it was, I could hire anyone. This person, he likes to play. He likes to play games. You need to get in his head before you smash his skull. If it's too risky, if I've misjudged, I could find someone else. Or if you want to take me up on the offer, I could get you there and possibly find you some help along the way. And she starts to approach Harleen from around the sides of the desk. Can we shake on it? Maybe if I told you that there's money in it, but I don't think that's really you. More the game, more the thrill, more the success. And Harleen starts to back away a little bit as the look in this woman's face is nondescript. It's almost like the eyes are completely blank, but there's nothing there at all. And the woman in the top hat walks towards her and goes, "Just a game. It's all just a game." And again, Harleen starts to draw her hammer from her back, still spattered with blood of the people she'd met earlier in the street. And she takes a step back to get a better swing and vanishes. And when she blinks, she's holding her hammer in her hands, and her cloak is pulled back from her head, and she's standing on the far side of a wagon, facing a large set of stone gates with torches burning on either side. On the opposite side of the wagon appears to be a tall man with dark, long hair and a black travelling cloak, and walking towards them down the road. An old man with a golden holy symbol, maybe, hung around his neck. And the forest is full of tall, dark trees, and the night is dark, such that you cannot almost see the treetops, and a mist, thick and heavy, curls out from around. And as the three strangers are stood looking at the stone gate in front of them, wolves start to come out of the forest behind them. And soon, as far as they can see, going back along the road, a pack of wolves appears to be herding them towards the stone door. And as the tall man with the long dark hair approaches, a raven pin on the front of his travelling cloak glows bright orange, and the gates swing open. And looking at each other, the three strangers walk through the gate. And as they reach the other side, the pin crumbles into dust and falls from the lapels of the travelling cloak, and the gates swing shut with an almighty crash behind them. And as they stand there, and the mist seeps around their ankles and the rain falls through the canopy overhead, they see ahead of them what appears to be an old man with a cane walking with a young child. And to their right, a figure staggering through the trees towards the path.